All right, so it's been 18 days since the hair transplant surgery, and things are changing. Number one, I have a selection of hats I like wearing now, which are all really loose, really don't lay flat on my head, so my hairs aren't going to be really impacted by wearing it. But at the same time, the doctor's already cleared me to put on helmets and stuff when I go rollerblading and roller skating. So I think even a hat on top of your head won't necessarily hurt it. As you can see, I'm playing with my hair. I'm starting to get a little bit more feeling to the sensitive and to the numb areas of my scalp. But I'm starting to also feel the differences between the grafted areas or the implanted areas and how they kind of, different parts of my scalp are taking onto those grafts differently, and where different parts are growing. I'm going to put my head closer to the camera right now so you can kind of see. I know in the first couple days you really saw like a straight line right where my hairline is. It's because I saw that they didn't move my hairline at all, but they just implanted some different grafts in those areas. But now it looks like you can see little density changes in different parts of my head. And when I'm talking about the density changes, I'm talking about it looks a little bit like hairs are coming out. And, part of the front area that I'm looking at, some locations that I saw hairs in there previously are no longer there. And I'm not 100% sure why. I know that my doctor told me that once the hairs were locked into my scalp, meaning that, they when they took out the transplants and put them back in, that there was a little bit more holding them in there than just bloods and goo of just dropping a seedling into a sheath. I saw a lot of little baby hairs grow out, and now I'm seeing some of those baby hairs fall out, which I'm not sure if I'm seeing them fall out. No, I actually am seeing them fall out sometimes when I wash my hair and I run my hands through my hair. I might see a little hair follicle or two. Not necessarily the follicle. I did see one follicle and it looked kind of crazy actually. It was two hairs popping out of one hair follicle, but you saw the skin that was cut in order to get it planted somewhere else, but then it just fell out. Or I think I touched it out actually, to be honest. But a lot of the hairs that were in the follicles, I'm starting to see those come out a little bit. So apparently it's normal that some of the hairs are going to be falling out because the hairs are going to be falling out of the sheaths and going to be falling out of the cylinders of the hairs, but the follicles are implant and they're just going to grow new hairs in there. Not 100% sure, but still paying attention. But one thing I wanted to show is, my hairs are growing back like they would generally. This is the time where, a lot of guys would just put on a hat and just lay it low and try to, go the next 3 months to grow as much hair as they can and to see how much growth there would be and then give an update. But I just want to give everyone the day-to-day, because the first 2 weeks were excruciatingly painful in the sense that my head was hurting, I wasn't getting very much sleep, and the scalp was bruising, right? And my body was fighting those feelings. Now, from days 10 to day 14, you're like, oh shoot, my hair is growing back like normal, and realistically it's your old school hair that's kind of growing back. But now that I'm day 14, I'm starting to look at my hair again. I'm starting to see little differences, and little differences that are popping up are, the hairs in front, they're falling out. Maybe the density looks in my head, top of my head looks a little bit different because I'm seeing it more, or, I'm paying more attention to it more closely. Either way, I've been getting a lot of different feedback online on how I should be fixing my hair, how I should be completing my treatment. and different bits of medical advice. And, realistically, that's been freaking me out a little bit, because there have been comments on my videos giving me different medical advice than what my doctor is giving me. And my doctor has been doing this in the United States for 20 years. I think this cosmetic surgery specifically. So, and he's local, right? So if there's something going on, I could just stop by. And so I think if he were to tell me that there's something wrong with what's happening right now, I'd be jumping over a 30-minute drive over to his office. But he hasn't been saying that, and he says things have been looking good. Now, one of the questions I have is, how many of these 3,608 hair follicles are actually attaching? How many are not being absorbed by my scalp, and how many were being rejected? Not only to calculate how much money I wasted in hair follicles that are not taking and are not being accepted into my scalp, but also, just to see how much my body's rejecting those hair follicles and why, right? I don't think that's a number I'm ever going to receive. I think one thing that I'm really looking forward to is after the 6 months, which the only thing that could speed up time is time, is looking at the density of my hair follicles on the top of my head with one of those super microscope cameras, so I could see how far the hairs are between each other and how thick they are as well. Because those are some of the big changes that I am going to see, and those are some of the things that I was expecting to see after this surgery commenced. So just want to give you all a heads up. Everything's going all right. I'm wearing hats now, a lot more black hats. I bought my first bucket hat in a while. And yeah, guys, stay tuned, see what happens. And I'm going to give you all the real of what's going on, what I'm feeling, and also how my hair is recovering. So stay tuned, see what happens.